Friends and enemies, welcome to another edition of the Canadian Bitcoiners podcast. I'm Len the Legend, and today I'm going to be interviewing a gentleman by the name of Hero of Bitcoin. And Hero of Bitcoin, he is an Australian dude, and he created a game called Hero of Bitcoin. And it's available on the Game Boy and the wide variety of Game Boy systems out there. And the reason why I wanted to bring him in is I thought this game was pretty interesting, and he is a Bitcoiner, this guy, and he lives in Australia. So this interview is not live. I had to record it this past weekend on Saturday, and it was Saturday morning my time, Saturday night his time. The difference in time is quite large. So keep in mind the price of Bitcoin was much higher then than it is now. But either way, I hope you enjoy this riff. But before we go any further, I just want to mention that the sponsors too. Number one, we have EasyDNS. Now, Mark has just been on our show just this past week, and the man's a legend. If anything, he deserves the name Mark the Legend. EasyDNS is a company that provides you with DNS services, so you get domain name services. You could do web hosting, email hosting, a whole bunch of things you could do there. But let's look at the thing that's keeping them in business. They're privacy-centric. Their customers are number one in their eyes. A lot of businesses have come and gone, and they still remain here. You have lots of different options over there. So if you want to start up your own website, you could do so. Or if you have one already done and you want to migrate it over, they'll help you out. Or you want to spin up your own email service, you could get that done. Or, if you want to get your own domain name, you could do that. You could start squatting on them, use them to start squatting on those domain names. It seems to be a very popular business these days. But something you could do as well with them is pay with your Bitcoin. So check them out, easydns.com. And if you use our promo code CBP Media, 50% will be taken off your initial purchase. So that means you might as well load up your cart with a whole bunch of stuff. Second sponsor is Bull Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin has been steadily going down for the past couple of days. No big deal. Maybe a good time to sell. Maybe a good time to buy. On-chain, Lightning, either way, they got you covered. So when the fees are getting high and the network is congested, you could use Lightning. But in the meantime, fees are not high. I suggest you use on-chain, not financial advice, and use, do your buys or sells with Bitcoin using on-chain. Also, with Bull Bitcoin, you could do a couple other things. Number one, you could, aside from selling or buying your Bitcoin, you could pay your bills. For example, if you want to pay a bill, like say a cell phone bill or a car bill, you could use their bill service to do that. And you could use your Bitcoin to pay those bills. So you might as well take advantage of the high price of Bitcoin the way it is right now, because obviously we've been stacking for a long time. What do we do with our Bitcoin? Well, it's use it as a medium of exchange, and Bull Bitcoin will help facilitate that. Second thing they could give you is the ability to spend it in the real world. Vendors, they won't accept Bitcoin right now, but Bull Bitcoin will be happy to sell you gift cards for your Bitcoin. So you could get like an Amazon gift card, a Home Depot gift card, whatever, and you can start spending your Bitcoin in the real world. So check them out. Open an account if you haven't done so with our promo code below. If you do that, $21 will be added to your account. No questions asked. Third sponsor, we have Decentral Technologies. And if you're looking for a home mining solution, these are the gentlemen that you want to talk to. They're based in Montreal, Canada. And if you want to have a light version, so it's just like a BitAxe, you could do that. So it'll be very quiet, won't take up much electricity. You won't get very much in terms of sats, but you could be part of a solo mining pool. So you lottery ticket every 10 minutes on average. Or you could ramp that up. You get like an S9, S19, S21, whatever you want. You get something that plugs into the 110 or say 220. So if you want to go easy, you could do that. You want to go much more challenging, use more electricity, you could do that. And every time you move up with terms of the power usage, your sats return will be much higher. So check them out. There's lots of different options they have for you. Even if you want to do home heating, that's another option available. Very popular in Canada, especially as we approach the cold winter months. So with that, let's just transition to the show, and I hope you enjoy my rip with Hero of Bitcoiner. Friends and enemies, welcome to another edition of the Canadian Bitcoiners podcast. I am joined today. You know what, this is going to be fun. I'm joined by Hero, or Hero of Bitcoin. I'm not sure how to call you. How are you, buddy?
Hey, I'm good. Yeah, just call me Hero. It's fine.
Hero, I like that. So that you are the hero of Bitcoin, though. For people who are unaware, Hero has developed a game for the Game Boy, and it's just all about Bitcoin. I want to get into that in a little bit because I'm very interested in, especially old school games. I'm still an old school gamer. But Hero, there it is. There's the game. It's sealed and everything. So I think that's sealed. Yeah, here. Let me. I want to hear a little bit more about your background and everything, like how you got into Bitcoin. Maybe you could educate our audience who you are.
Yeah, so I got into Bitcoin as most people do. You sort of you go into the alts, you learn your lessons, and then you climb your way back up and go all in on Bitcoin, as most people do. The story in Hero Bitcoin is sort of similar to my own story as well. So as I thought most people would probably go through that, working a day job and just noticing everything around you getting more expensive and realizing that there needs to be a solution to this and stumbling upon Bitcoin. And but I'm class of 2017, so I've been here for a little while, but I wasn't one of the early adopters, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm the same thing. I got in at the very tail end of 2017. But to be perfectly honest, I just got in for number go up technology. That's the only reason I.
Same.
And then
Yep.
I didn't
You,
really
you,
go down the rabbit hole for until a few years later. So
yeah.
I'm
Same, same.
I'm curious. What was the environment like for buying Bitcoin at the time when you first got in? I mean, just briefly, I could say on my side, the one that we all were exposed to was Coinbase, and in order to, we got into Coinbase, bought into it, but even then we were only able to buy small amounts. We weren't able to buy large amounts. You had to like build up some sort of credit, social credit with Coinbase before you could get in. I'm curious, what was the environment like when you first got in for stacking corn?
Also, I went to CoinSpot, which is an Australian site, and I had no issues with them at all. Actually, they were quite good. They do actually have quite high fees, but yeah, I didn't have much. I had a little bit of restrictions, but I was able to, you know, do whatever I want basically.
And in terms of like friends that people you could talk to, like was there a group of people, a circle of friends you could talk to, or were you basically on an island all by yourself?
Well, I live in a very like small city in Australia, and I don't really have anyone around here that's Bitcoiners. So I had a couple of friends that were all into the crypto, not really just Bitcoin.
Hmm.
So no, I had no support or no direction for just Bitcoin only in that sort of thing. So that's where YouTube and all that was my main support. I would main go to for and also Twitter at the time.
And let's dive right into this Hero of Bitcoin game that you've developed. And I want to know, like, what's the inspiration behind it? Like, what gave you the idea? Heck, I gotta program something, a game about Bitcoin, and we could talk about the game momentarily. But first, I want to hear about your inspiration.
I started off as an artist doing pixel art. I was just doing it for fun, and I made Samson's display picture, which was his little line thing. So he used that for a very long time, and I just gave it to him, and it sort of made me realize, I could do something with this. So I started to charge to make people's display pictures in pixel art in Sats, which was great. So started off doing that, and I did pixel art for a while. I did some art pieces. I did Michael Saylor, and Michael Saylor shared it, and so I got a bit popular with that. And then I'm not really a programmer, but there's a lot of tools now to create games it makes it much easier for non-programmers. And I stumbled upon one that's quite a few little softwares that you could use to make Game Boy games. And I thought pixel art that I was creating was perfect to transfer into Game Boy because games take a very long time to make, and small screen sizes allow it so that you less pixels. Obviously, the quicker it is to make games. Um, that was some of the main reasons why I chose Game Boy, and also Game Boy because I was thinking, Bitcoin is sort of the financial system 2.0. We're starting from scratch again. We're starting, a lot of people are starting art. They're starting things, and I thought, what better way to start gaming again is to go back to the roots of the original Game Boy.
Why did you choose Game Boy out of all systems?
Well, it was my first handheld, so it was like I'm all about the nostalgia. I love retro gaming. I'm a massive collector. I have a huge selection here on my wall of Game Boy, Super Nintendo, original Nintendo 64, all the way up, consoles. And so I've always been a collector, and so I wanted to create something that I would love to collect myself. So yeah,
And this
that's
is
how I
available
came.
on the Nintendo Game Boy, Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and Game Boy SP. Is that correct?
Yes, and also the Super Game Boy for the Super Nintendo. And also, I found
Ah,
out that the GameCube also has a Game Boy attachment, so
okay.
I
So
could play
it's
on
you can just
GameCube.
plug it in natively into the Game Boy and it works.
Yeah, there's an attachment for it,
Okay.
and so same as the Super Nintendo, a little
Oh, yeah,
cartridge for the
right.
yep, and
Got
then
it.
for the yep.
Maybe we could talk about the game itself. I mean, I'm sure people would like to hear about what it is, and I know there's some NPCs in there that are well known within the Bitcoin community. So I want to hear you describe the game to people that have yet to discover it.
Well, it's a very simple game. It's similar to Mario or Zelda 2 for the original Nintendo. If anyone's played that, it's like a platformer. You can jump on enemies. You get the Sword of Satoshi later as a weapon. There's different enemies. Yeah, and you can heal. You've got hearts. You got to collect 21 Bitcoin, and there's various bosses throughout the game. All just sort of inspiration of different things like whales and poo coiners, which are shit coiners. We're trying to keep it children friendly, so children can enjoy as well. Yeah.
And the setting is in El Salvador in totality, or does it go around?
Yes, no, it's all based in El Salvador, so you get to meet famous Bitcoiners, including the president, Bukele. A lot of the people that I was able to actually ask permission for me to use them in there, so which was great, including Michael Saylor, who messaged me directly and said he's happy for me to put him in the game, so he's got a major role in the game. But the main story about this game, it's not about the heroes are not supposed to just be it's not supposed to be the famous Bitcoins are heroes. It's that the story is that anyone can be a hero with Bitcoin. It's sort of the moral of the story. So yeah.
That's cool. So I'm curious then, with respect to the game, like how long did it take you to program it? Like when did you decide I'm going to start doing this thing, and what was the process from start to scratch? Sorry, from start to finish. Sorry.
So yeah, it took me over 2 years, and so I went through a lot of testing through different enemy types and the platforming stuff. Yeah, a lot of pixel art. So when you do the pixel art for backgrounds and whatnot, there's tile counts. So you can only have so many tiles per screen. And that's because the limited RAM on the Game Boy. It's very, very, yeah,
What's the
doesn't
limitation of
have
it?
much.
How much RAM does it
It's
have?
actually don't know exactly, but it's not much. Yeah, so um, yeah, it's taken a long time to make, but it's the fact that it's simple has also made it much easier to work with because I've only got like 4 colors to work with. In each tile has its own color palette for the Game Boy Color. So this works. This cartridge is a Game Boy Color cartridge that works on an original Game Boy as well.
So I'm
So it
looking at
works
the
for both.
Game Boy Advance. It looks like 288 kilobytes of RAM. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
That's that's extremely small. Given like, look at our
yeah,
phones, for instance, how much RAM it has, gigabytes, and this thing. You have to all put it into perspective. The '90s was a different time. RAM was very expensive. I remember
yeah.
RAM being $40 Canadian per megabyte, and it stuck at that price for a very long time. It didn't budge. So RAM was at a premium. It was very costly. The reception for the game, though, I mean, since it came out earlier this year. Am I correct?
Yes. So I used Gazer Fund, which is an amazing platform, which is basically like Kickstarter
Hmm.
for Bitcoiners. So you can use Bitcoin and contribute to different projects with Bitcoin. I recommend anyone have a looking to create any sort of project or wanting to fund projects to have a look on Gazer because it's a really well made site and the developers are really good at. If you have any issues, they'll add things, and if you make suggestions, they're really good. Yeah.
And the reception for the game once it was released, you must have got
Yeah,
flooded
well,
with.
we did 210 copies for the first batch.
Uh huh.
They're sold out now.
Hmm.
I have a couple of copies myself, but they're just for when I do like road shows, when I go to Bitcoin conventions and things like that. And then we're making another 250 copies. But the plan is to eventually make the game for free. I want to, sort of decentralize that first game and allow people to put it on different things. Even I've had some like Seed Signer and some other cold wallet people interested about putting the game on their wallet, which would
Huh.
be pretty interesting. And that's just so yeah, just for everyone to enjoy. I want to give back to the community as well. So yeah.
And you can play it online. I know there's a demo version that's available on the website. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep. There's a demo available. If you just go to me on Twitter, Hero Bitcoin, there's a link to it on there. And you can download that as well. There's a little link there. You can download the ROM and put it on it. What I'd love to see is, how everyone puts Doom on everything? I'd love to see everyone put this game on everything.
The Bitcoin equivalent of that. So yeah, does it run Hero Bitcoin?
Does it run Hero Bitcoin? That's the question. Yeah.
So in terms of the price, the initial 210, what were you selling it for? What was the price?
$100 for the cartridge. So that comes with the manual.
That's sealed, that one in your
Comes
hand,
with
right?
the-
That's not opened.
Yeah, well, no, I've opened it, but it's got a plastic protection over the top. That's why
Got
you
it.
can open the protection. This is actually the prototype. I've got an empty box. Yeah, that's the final. Yeah, so it comes with a manual, the game cartridge, the dust protector, just exactly how an original Game Boy game would come.
And for people who are saying, "Wow, that's pricey." Remember how much Game Boy games cost back in the '90s? Do math with inflation, real inflation too, and you'll see this might be a steal.
Yes, and we're doing everything handmade here, and there's not that many copies being made, so it's not like we're doing hundreds of thousands like things. So yeah.
Will the next run also be priced at $100 per item?
Yes. Yeah.
Are there any special ones that you get? Maybe a signed copy, or there's a special edition?
I'm thinking of selling the. I've got 3 prototypes. It's got the prototype builds of the game, and the thing I'm thinking of auctioning them off at some stage. Yeah, no signature or anything like that. Oh, maybe for these, I'm not sure. I haven't really put much thought into it.
Is it open source, or do you plan to open source it in the future?
Yeah, I'm considering. We'll see.
And if you do decide to do that, what's the rationale behind it? With hopes that people make it running like
people expand it and whatever. Yeah.
And do you intend to have it released on any other consoles aside from the Game Boy?
Well, just maybe desktop, and just digital.
So you're not going to port it to say an SNES or
No
Mega Drive
slash. It's got the super. You could make it for. I could actually make a cart. I heard that there is possible to convert them for to play directly on a Super Nintendo cart, so it's its own thing. Yeah, something we can think about. But we've also made other things as well. Like we made the Game Boy Hero themed.
That's cool.
So we made 21 of these with my help of my mate Mars. So we've been working together, and just like some apparel. We got hats and shirts and stuff that we've been.
Did those go on sale, or did you give them away, or are you hoarding them all?
Which one? Sorry,
the Game Boy with the special cover on it.
Yeah, no, we've actually given some away for free. There was one on Capario that was just given out. I'm not sure if it's still running or not. They're and we're giving away a few, and we've also sold some in auction.
I'm really going to go into the weeds here, go into left field. But did you ever try? Because I've seen people actually try mining for Bitcoin on a Game Boy, and I don't know it's Have you ever even tried that because you're a big Game Boy fan?
No, I haven't tried it. I have seen a video of someone doing it. I don't know if it's really worth your time.
Oh, for sure, it's not worth your time.
Trillions of years to get to not even. Yeah, I don't know if you can get a couple of sats out of that. So.
Yeah, you're probably doing kilohash per second, maybe at that. Yeah. That's it's good luck getting anything. But I find it's fascinating what people will do just to test out equipment and see how far things will go.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Any sequels? Is this going to be it, or there's going to be a
Yeah,
sequel?
so I'm currently working on number two. It's very early in development. The sequel, if it ever finishes, because like who knows, like anything can happen. But currently it's looking a bit like Zelda for the Game Boy, so top-down view, but it'll have a world map, so you're able to travel. I'm considering different travel methods, maybe something like using Michael Saylor's boat or something,
His yacht to go from
his
places.
yacht, or that, yeah, made that ship that he has that ship in the background in his in
Yeah,
his
yeah, yeah.
something like that.
That'd be
Maybe
so fucking cool.
we'll see.
And you're gonna, I guess, put a whole bunch of NPCs that are Bitcoin related
Yeah,
people within.
Bitcoiners and it might be more worldwide. So I've made a world map that's the whole map of the world. So obviously I wouldn't be able to go everywhere, but there'll be certain locations you'll be able to go to. And I'm thinking maybe making it so you can go wherever you want. Or I'm not sure if I'm going to make it linear, where you have to go through certain things, or making it so you can go anywhere you want and do quests or something. I don't, yeah,
And you just came
still
back
early days.
from Lugano, right? Am I
From
wrong?
where?
Did you go to Lugano
No,
recently?
no. Mars has been doing. I haven't gone anywhere. I've always been, yeah. I
Got
don't travel much, unfortunately.
got it. Is that because of work related or just personal? That's you just prefer to stay home.
Oh yeah. It's just too expensive for me.
I'm the same way.
But I am going to go to Bitcoin Alive in Australia early next year. That'll be my first ever Bitcoin convention,
Oh, you have
meeting other
not?
Bitcoiners.
Are you getting a
Yeah, I
booth?
don't. Yeah, I'm getting a booth. I think. Yep.
You're gonna get a lot of traffic and a lot of interest. I would suggest. I mean, this is my opinion. Make sure you have as much paraphernalia as possible to sell because people are gonna want it. People are gonna want to buy something, and if stuff is limited, I understand it creates scarcity, but have something, maybe a shirt or something, because I like that shirt you're wearing. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, it's got a little hero on the side, and
is that
we got
also
a logo on the back.
is that also limited edition 21 shirts?
Well, we were was selling them on. I was using Wix to make a website, but it was like really super expensive it was like $100 a month or something just to keep it up, and I hadn't even released the game, and no one was buying it, so I was just like, oh, and then it deleted everything, and I had all the setup of hats and shirts and hoodies, and yeah, so that was
It's like you could fix
wasted a
that
lot of my
with
time.
your own website and a BTC pay server system. You
Yeah,
could just be your own
yeah,
merchant.
eventually,
That's
eventually.
are,
I'm
are,
just so busy that I just haven't had time,
ha,
honestly.
have you ever delved into Lightning or anything else?
Using Lightning.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I use Lightning all the time when I was selling stuff,
Okay.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
because that's going to be the easiest way for you to transact. And is there any? I
yeah.
mean,
It's
I've
just
used Lightning.
time's the limit.
Yeah. What's the limitations you found within Lightning? Have you come across any that are just like?
Oh no! It's not that. It's just haven't had the time to do stuff.
Got it.
you
Got
know,
it.
yeah.
Thoughts on the recent pump of Bitcoin?
Oh, it's it's funny. Like you always know it's going to happen, but when it happens, you're just like, wow, this is cool. Like you feel like you feel like the smartest person in the room, but you try and stay humble. They say stack sats and stay humble, but I think that the stay humble part is the hardest part for me. You know,
Now, for reference, we're recording this on Saturday morning, my time. It's Saturday late afternoon,
night.
early evening, your time.
It's like 10 o'clock at night.
Oh,
Yeah,
so I appreciate you taking the time to. So, yeah, if you guys, there's a
that's
great
all right.
distance. So right now we're just last I saw we're 98.3 according to my block clock. So we're knocking on the door of 100K. Man, this thing it seems to be a tough nut to crack. Like once we get
Yeah, it's
there,
got a big cell wall there, but I think I think we'll just probably be a bit slow for recent soon, and then but once we blow that top off, I think it's just going to go nuts.
do you have people reaching out to you that haven't reached out to you before with respect to Bitcoin and asking you questions?
Yeah, well, I minted a couple of Bitcoiners the other day. I was at work because everyone knows me. Or like I don't really know many people who like at all well, about who are Bitcoiners only.
Mm-hmm.
And so everyone just knows me as the Bitcoiner. And I was finally able to convince a couple that I've been working on for a while. So yeah,
What's the approach
it's
you
good.
use? How do you try to at least usher them through the door of Bitcoin? I'm curious how you do it.
Depends how much time I have. If I have a lot of time, I talk about. Um, I don't talk about Bitcoin first. I talk about what's wrong with the money, and I just say Bitcoin's a possible solution that I believe. But what would you don't have any options if this is true about what's happening to money. Um, you got gold, but who's going to carry? How much gold can you carry? We don't all know the limitations of gold. So yeah, just telling them the problems with money, and then them realizing, oh yeah, actually, inflation, and there's a lot of things like that. So,
Yeah,
but
unless
if I don't have much time, I just tell them to. I don't actually tell anyone to buy. I just tell them to research, do their own research.
yeah,
Yeah,
put 5, 10 hours, 100 hours into it. And once you learn about it, then at that point they go balls deep and they just get as much as they
yeah,
can. But yeah,
yeah,
in terms of where you are in Australia, I know that there's some similarities between Australia and Canada, where the housing situation, at
yeah.
least in Melbourne, I
It's a
could say,
worldwide. Yeah,
it went absolutely bonkers in the last 5 years or so. And same thing applied here in Canada. So people are looking at that. And at one point, they would potentially be able to afford a home. Now, the majority of people are priced out of it. And that's just one scarce asset people look at. And it's a desirable asset to have, but it indicates what's wrong with money.
yeah.
And you could use that as a guide. Like, are other things impacting? Like, is the price of food like really going high over there? Like, is it's just everything just getting to be like a little bit more challenging to make ends meet in Australia?
Yeah, pretty much. Everything's just sort of gone up. Like even I find one of the biggest things is fast food. Like fast food here is just like feels like I'm almost going to a restaurant now in terms of cost.
Yeah.
So it's just hitting on everything, and there's people are in so much debt, and we have fairly high interest rates here. There's just not much money going around. You can tell.
Is the Central Bank of Australia lowering rates aggressively like other parts of the world? Or are they?
No, no, not yet. But everyone thinks they will early next year.
Holy cow! You're one of the last ones to do it. It seems.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, that's it's really impactful then. So everybody's suffering, unfortunately, and it's a good opportunity to point to Bitcoin and say, look, this is something here. Look, it's not going to make you, maybe not make you rich, but at the very least, it protects you from debasement and from decisions which may not appeal to everybody. It's a
yeah.
money for everybody, and yeah, it's a guiding light. It's a beacon of hope for a lot of folks, and I hope that a lot of people will look at it, especially with this 100K pump or just about 100K pump. There's so
Yeah,
much.
everyone's watching now.
Yeah.
And not only that, you've got companies and countries looking at it now too, because you've got Saylor giving the biggest example with MicroStrategy. Everyone's watching. Everyone's wondering how he got into the top 100. And then you've got El Salvador. Everyone's watching El Salvador. And then now you've got Dennis Porter talking about um, uh, multiple states in the US making a reserve for Bitcoin before Trump even comes in. So it's all happening fast, and he's saying that other countries are looking at it as well.
So
He's been notified. So
Trump, with respect to Trump, he's surrounding himself with a bunch of individuals who have exposure to Bitcoin, like his vice president or vice president elect specifically. He owns somewhere in the vicinity up to 500,000 Bitcoin. $500,000 worth of Bitcoin. Sorry, that's the best way.
I was going to say, I
Yeah,
didn't think he
so
had that much.
he had, but he would be so.
Yeah,
He has at least some exposure. It could be 250,000. It could be 490,000. It's a decent amount. That's just one person, but there's a whole bunch. Like Vivek also has some. Elon obviously has. So he's surrounding himself with a whole bunch of people. There's a lot of hope here that there's something going to be done, especially to do with
yeah.
regulations. Is it the same in Australia where Bitcoin is treated as a commodity? You sell it, you're taxed?
No. Yeah, yes. So it's yeah, we get taxed on it just like income. So
Yeah, that's
unfortunately, but yeah, we're not much talk in government about Bitcoin here. Unfortunately, we're probably going to be the slowest on take. I really hope it's not the case, but it just seems so at the moment.
so. There's no Australian politicians discussing it. in the forefront?
No, or not that I really know of. There is libertarians, but they're still a minority at the moment. So that's the two main parties are not discussing it that I know of. But I don't really look at much Australian news too much, so I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's not happening.
Every time you watch Australian news, do you just like walk away from it just shaking your head like what the heck's going on?
Yeah, well, it's hard to find reputable sources here, So
Where do you pick up the majority of your stuff? It's majority.
now it's X.
Yeah.
Just direct from the source. I find is the safest information. Just
Are you a Noster?
legacy. Sorry.
You a Noster?
Yeah, I'm a Noster, yeah.
Okay.
I just don't use it that much because I just don't get much people talking to me, or when I post, I don't get much. I have only about 300 followers, so I just stick to X mostly.
I'll have to follow you. Did you post your NPub on X?
I'm not sure if it's there or not. I can send it to you.
I would love it. Yes, I'll follow you. I'm way more active over there than on X. I understand like X is the bigger platform and it is trending in the right direction, but I'm still disappointed that it's decentralized. That you could say something, and you could theoretically still get banned. I know people that have done so. I've most of accounts that it sucks, but on Austria you can't do that. You're there.
Yeah.
If you don't like them, just don't follow them. You won't hear them. But if you do like them, follow them. You get them in your timeline. It's I like that model better. It just gives me more sense of control rather than having somebody else an algorithm program for me to show me what I want to. So, and then plus it's pay to play in X too.
True.
I mean, I have no problems for people paying for. Are you a blue check, Mark?
No, but I was when I released the game, just because just to get it out there a bit more.
You should do it again just to continually get some momentum for the game.
Yeah, I will when the second batch comes out.
Got it. You guys got any ETFs too? I mean, I don't want to talk too much Australia, but I'm curious because I don't talk to too many Aussies.
Yeah, we got a Bitcoin ETF now. Yep.
Was it released recently, or was it there for some time?
I think it was a couple of months ago. I could be wrong.
Was there a lot of fanfare?
Yeah, it was, but I mean, it wasn't. It's not big, It wasn't that. There wasn't that much interest, I think, compared to the US one.
Oh, for sure. Here in Canada, we had an ETF that was live. Spot ETF. I'm going to say 2022, maybe 2021. We've had it for a few years. For whatever reason, we're more progressive when it comes to getting stuff with Bitcoin. Canada seems to be pretty good. I mean, a lot of people say what they want about Canada, but with respect to Bitcoin, we haven't had the same type of resistance as other countries do. We seem to be at least looking at it as a potential currency, potential commodity that could be used. I don't know. Either way, but yeah. I don't know. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm not sure if you have anything else you want to talk about your game because that's why primarily I wanted to bring you on is to talk about your game, the Hero of Bitcoin, because I wanted to know more about it. But is there anything we missed with respect to that you want to parlay to our audience?
Not really. Just I just hope that everyone gives it a go, and if you can't afford it, if you want to stack more sats, that's fair enough. It'll eventually be for free, so you can play it then.
I can't let you go without talking the setup you have behind. I see a little, I'm going to say 10-inch TV, and to the right of that, there's a baby console.
CRT.
Yeah, so that's...
Yeah, well, I have every console under the sun up on my high shelves, but that's a hacked, chipped PlayStation. So I've got this is a USB actually for my playing retro games, but
that's not a mini PlayStation. That's like an actual PlayStation.
That's a real PlayStation. Yes.
Okay.
Because I got real games here. I got Game Boys here. I got my Game Boy Color and original DMG. I got even original Nintendo games.
That's Duck Hunt and Mario.
Nintendo games. Yeah, Secret of Mana, one of my favorite games. Heaps of stuff here.
Big fan of Final Fantasy?
Yes. Yep. Big RPG fan.
Yeah, I could tell. Just so Secret of Mana, Chrono Trigger.
You know what? Unfortunately, we didn't get Chrono Trigger or Final Fantasy VI until PlayStation. It never came out on Super Nintendo.
You mean Super Nintendo in Australia?
Yeah, it didn't come out. But I got a this is not a real copy. This is someone's made a fake version of it. So it then actually works as a real. Yeah, we never got it. Unfortunately, two of the best games for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, so we got, and over here it was called Final Fantasy 2 and 3. Final Fantasy 4 was dubbed 2, and Final Fantasy 6 was dubbed Final Fantasy 3 over here. So that's I know them as 2 and 3, not as 4 and 6. So
actually, speaking of which, I've actually got the first Final Fantasy here. I think this is the American version, but I've got the original
for the NES.
Box, NES, manual, everything in there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, love collecting.
That's that when you showed me that original Game Boy, like it brought back a lot of memories. The game that I played a lot on it was Tetris.
Yes, I've got that.
Played the shit out of that game. But anyways,
and that's what I think. Like when people play this game, that's why I haven't sold a digital copy yet. I've only been selling the cartridge because there's so much of the nostalgia factor when you play it on the original console than playing it digitally. So that's why I really pushed to release it on console factor first.
You know, I thought when I first came across the Hero of Bitcoin, and it was several months ago, I swear I thought that it was a Switch game. Right? Because it seemed like, because they're releasing like Secret of Mana, they released on the Switch, they released a whole bunch. It's like, oh great, this is like a physical Switch game that based on Bitcoin. I could have swore, and I was a little bit disappointed because I have a Switch, so I'm hoping you could port that to the Switch. I don't know the cost would be. I don't think
that's gonna happen.
Oh, that's too bad because it just seems like it would lend so well to the Switch environment because it's also a handheld, right? The Switch. So,
I'm sure when it gets older and people start to hack it, they'll put it on there.
There's a lot of things people are doing right now with the Switch. I've seen a lot of people mod their Switches, so it's possible. Definitely possible. So yeah. All right, Hero. Any last words before we sign off and call this a day?
No, just stack sats as always.
I'll keep doing that, but you know the problem is though, Hero. It's every day that happens. I do that. I could buy less and less, and the same thing applies to you.
I know.
It's getting.
It feels like you've got a pool of water and you're putting droplets of water in when you nowadays. You know.
That's a good analogy. Like, have you looked at like how much $1 Australian could buy you in terms of number of sats? Like it's. I think
it's like nothing now.
I think you're getting what 700 sats or something like that. Am I wrong? Maybe 800 sats. Either way,
I don't even know.
It's just I think times have changed. Anyways, appreciate you coming on, brother. This has been an awesome chat, and
thanks for inviting me.
Anytime, my friend. And with that, take care. We'll be back
in Canada.
Sorry.
What's your slang in Canada? Before you go, like, how do you say goodbye? Do you have like
see you later?
Just, okay. Thought you might have something, you know.
Okay. Pour some maple syrup on it. Take care. We'll be back at this again Monday.